Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of The Right Side with Doug Billings. Thanks for watching the program. I'm just giving a real quick shout out about a very special guest that we're going to have on this program. I'm going to make a little recording here and put it out on my social media platforms so that you can see me, and hear this phenomenal news. He has been flying under the radar for quite a while now. We haven't seen him on television in any recent interviews, but I will have him on this show, The Right Side with Doug Billings, this Thursday, February 4th. I will have Michael Flynn, General Michael Flynn, right here on this program. We're obviously thoroughly excited about it. The show itself will probably drop Friday morning, February 5th. So keep an eye and ear out, watch it, subscribe to this channel so that you get notifications about that incredibly important show. General Michael Flynn. And we are grateful and blessed that he's agreed to come on this show. He'll speak to us, answer questions, and I just can't wait to share with you that incredible interview. Thank you very much, General Flynn. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you for watching the program and making it the success that it is. We are blessed and honored in more ways than we can even imagine. General Michael Flynn, right here on The Right Side with Doug Billings. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. Cheers. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of The Right Side with Doug Billings. Before we begin today's show, I want to give a shout out to a good friend of the program, the Commander's Artist. Check out his website, thecommandersartist.com. The patriotic artwork that this guy creates is phenomenal. And you know, it's no wonder that General Mike Flynn himself has commissioned this guy as his own personal family artist. That's why he's called the Commander's Artist. Not only is it beautiful artwork, but it's just fabulously done, and the quality is unsurpassed. He's a good friend of the show. He's designed the logos that you see at the beginning and the end of each show. He's created a couple of Patriot prints for some guests that we've had on the show. And just take a look at these things that I'm showing you. Incredible. And when you go to order, you get a special discount if you mention in the coupon section the word Doug. That's me. When you go to pay on the website, you'll see a little button there that says, hey, do I have a coupon? You say yes, you click on it. Just enter in my name, Doug, D-O-U-G, and you'll receive a discount from the Commander's Artist. Go check him out. Excellent work, beautiful patriotism on display every day. thecommandersartist.com. Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Thank you for watching us here on our YouTube and Rumble channels. We appreciate it. Please make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate it. Click that little subscribe button. You'll get notifications of when the new shows drop, and we can keep in touch that way. I try to get out and answer as many comments as I can. We've truly, over the last month, begun to reach a worldwide audience, and you'll be able to see evidence of that when you see these comments that come in every day. Also, please take a moment, sponsor the program, if you will. We need sponsorships, so if you head over to the GoFundMe page and find us over there, The Right Side with Doug Billings, just donate if you can. We would appreciate your sponsorship, weekly, monthly, whatever. And finally, share the program. Share it with your friends and family. I ask you that favor. The conservative message needs to be shared, and we need to share it loud and clear. Because in today's world, as you may have heard, we have this cancel culture that we're dealing with continuously, and it's gaining steam, unfortunately, I think, ladies and gentlemen, in America and around the world. I think that you'll notice this cancel culture of ideas and history and people that the radical left don't agree with, that doesn't fit their narrative, and they'll try to eliminate it, to try to cancel it. We have a story in San Francisco today, this week, whereby the school board of San Francisco, and don't forget, San Francisco is Nancy Pelosi's home district. The school board there has canceled the names of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, and some others I'll get to in a minute, from the schools in San Francisco. Now they are erasing the names of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln from the names of schools in San Francisco. Other names, they're not the only ones. Francis Scott Key, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who live in Raytown, Missouri, Francis Scott Key is the one who wrote the words to the United States national anthem. There's former presidents who are on the list: William McKinley, James Garfield, James Monroe, Herbert Hoover. Revolutionary War heroes like Paul Revere, now being struck from the school buildings in San Francisco, and Arthur Robert Louis Stevenson. Arthur Robert Stevenson was a Scotsman, and he wrote books like Treasure Island and the Legend and the Problem with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He lived in Scotland, came to America, had very bad health, but apparently traveled extensively throughout the land and the world, and they've taken his name. That was a terrible Scottish accent. People, R. Carter, my friend over in Scotland who listens to and watches the program, feel free to make fun of me. I can do better. But these names, ladies and gentlemen, struck from history. I did a show yesterday on the lies of the 1619 Project, whereby the left is attempting to erase, literally, the founders' intent with regards to the founding of America and so forth. But the school board apparently in California wants to cancel historical figures because of human flaws. You know, these people were evil. They were immoral. How dare we hold them up, you know, as heroes. The founding fathers, they owned slaves. They treated American Indians badly, etc. You know, a news flash to members of the left-wing mob: everybody is flawed, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody. If we're going to erase people's names simply because of their pasts, we would all be erased. We have to look at the lives of the founders and the heroes of the American Revolution and the American Republic in their totality. We can't judge them by standards of current American society. To judge somebody who lived centuries ago by current American standards of society is simply intellectually immature. But, you know, beyond just what erasing the names means psychologically to us, there's a financial cost that is completely unnecessary. In California, San Francisco to be specific, to change the names of all of these schools that you're talking about in San Francisco, $400,000, which begs the question, right? How many computers, how many theater props, how many sports equipment, how many textbooks would $400,000 buy? And yet we're using that money to erase names of heroes and inspirational people from our history. Well, you know, in reality, you know, because that's what we deal with on the right side, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? The conservative side is the right side. All of this is linked to information, right? It's all linked to information that as a society that we have to decide to share and teach. The truth, specifically, you and I, we have to make decisions on how to filter out what the mainstream media is feeding us, what academia is feeding us, because most of the time you just can't believe what they're feeding us. So we have to take control of our society, of our children, of our families, with regards to all of the information that's available. It's becoming, I think, in my opinion, more evident every day that big tech and corporations are in charge of dispensing this information around the world. Now, that's obvious, but what's really happening is that big tech is controlling what we see and how we see it, if we see it at all. And I think that you'll see that there is an attack by virtue of the kinds of information that they share and hold back from us on traditional family values and against natural law, the way God intended the world to be. And I think our conservative values just in general are under attack with regards to the information that is currently shared and the information that's withheld by the big tech companies. Now, if you're still one of the people who believe and think that big tech companies like Facebook Twitter, for example, social media in general, are platforms where all you do is share family pictures and photos of your dinner, which, by the way, let me go down a tangent here. Don't ever share pictures of your food on Facebook, no matter how great the dinner is, no matter how wonderful it tastes, no matter how monumentous the occasion is that you're having the meal. Pictures of food taken with your iPhone and posted to Facebook look horrible. Always. Don't ever post pictures of your food. That I am here to give you the truth, ladies and gentlemen, the hardcore truth of the world in which we live, and that's one of the hardcore truths. Don't share pictures of food on social media. It always looks disgusting. But if you think that those platforms are a place where we only just, keep in touch with friends, we share holiday greetings and moments, we wish each other Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Groundhog Day, whatever. And if you think that you're always the first person to post a notice about the death of a celebrity, you're mistaken. But they're not platforms for those things. We do that. You engage in Facebook for those purposes. But what those kinds of companies are, big tech in general, really are spy companies. They're spying on you. They're gathering your information. They're more powerful, really, Facebook, Google especially, than our government, than any government in the world. Name the government. They're more powerful because they're not accountable. They're not accountable to anybody. You can't vote them out. You can't win an appeal. If you're put in Facebook jail, you can appeal, but you're not likely going to win. There's no big tech Bill of Rights. And this is really the most basic of all of the threats I think we face in the world today, the control of information. If we're not allowed to know something, if we're not allowed to know about it, if we're not allowed to fully understand something, if we're not allowed or given the information required to be able to think intelligently about any topic, then we can be controlled. That's why our First Amendment to the Constitution in the United States, at least, is so crucial. It protects us, it protects the press as well, the media, and it allows freedom of information and speech. At least it's supposed to. It's up to us now, those of us in the world and consumers of information, it's up to us to decipher, of all of the media outlets out there, the press, which ones are the honest ones, which ones do we think that we're getting the most truth from, which ones do we think are not giving us the truth. There may well be no media outlet in the world that gives us the full truth. Now, I hope this show gives you full truth. This is about my opinion about the news, but I hope that we share all of the truth as we see it, and then we give opinion about that. You and I, when we meet in the discussions and the posts and the comments and so forth. But we have to understand and decide that there are forces arrayed against us who all they want to do is deconstruct and recreate the truth into something that fits their narrative and fits their agenda. In my opinion, Google is the most powerful company in the history of mankind because they control our access to information. And we should all be philosophically against any and all conglomerations of, I think, such power. By any company, not picking on Google just by itself, by any company. Amazon. I'm used to be a big Amazon Prime, right? Can be a big problem. A few clicks of the button and all of a sudden something shows up on your doorstep. But at what cost? At the cost of the mom and pop shop down the street, the brick and mortar shops that we used to visit all the time. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, this is a reminder for us, I think, that it's not necessarily these big things, these life or death big tech issues that are the most important to us to focus on the right side, on the conservative side of things. I think more often than not, if we really examine ourselves, our place in the world with each other, it's the little things in our own lives that really matter. We can get all worked up and bent out of shape about Google or Amazon or whatever. But I think what conservatives do best is that, and one of the things that I like best about conservative beliefs and conservative principles and the conservative approach to life, both from a political aspect, but also, and more importantly, from a personal perspective, is that the conservative approach focuses on the improvement of the individual. The improvement of the individual for us is the key to improvement of society in general. When we improve ourselves, we improve society. That's what we believe. That's conservative beliefs in a nutshell. We on the right side correctly focus on becoming, some people call it becoming the best version of ourselves. Call it what you want, self-improvement, whatever, whether that be through furthering our education, through prayer, reflection, meditation, journaling. You know, I'm a big fan of keeping a spiritual journal. I journal several times a month. I don't set any hardcore rules on how often I journal, but at the end of the year, I always reflect back. On New Year's Eve, glass of wine, and I reflect back on the year and where I saw God's hand interact into my life and the world. So spiritual journaling, prayer, education, health, fitness, these are ways that we improve our individual selves. And then we focus on helping our children and our families become the best versions of themselves through the same avenues. The other day I did a show on the lies of the 1619 Project and its attempts to erase the truth from America's founding and the thoughts and the writings of the American founders being turned against them and made to look as if they are racists and white supremacists. That's how we, as conservatives, improve our individuality, ourselves, is by looking at things like the 1619 Project, reading it, understanding what the narrative is, and then making intellectually mature decisions that's a lie. What they're saying here is a lie. And we're not saying that to be cruel, mean, vicious. We are in pursuit of the truth. And when you're in pursuit of the truth, you have to be able to call out non-truths, lies. You have to be able to call them out. And so that's what we were doing. We improve ourselves when we do that. Now, there's proper ways to do that, and there's non-proper ways. We are not the party of violence, for example. We refuse the lies and we dig for the truth, and in so doing, our individuality becomes better. We become self-improved. Therefore, so does the society in which we live. If we become better moral people as individuals, so will our societies. The radical left, the commu-socialists, as I call them, their view of quote-unquote improving society is, according to them, by thrusting their politics upon us and society. I mean, think about that. They will endeavor to force us to believe in what they do, what they think, how they approach life and politics, and they will force it on us by legislation, by law, whatever. And if we don't, we are labeled the racists. We are labeled the white supremacists. We're labeled the Uncle Toms, whatever, if we don't agree with their narrative. They will cancel us. They will topple the statues, right? That we saw it. Evidence of the obvious is sufficient. And they will erase us and prevent us from speaking and sharing information in the public square. Take a step further with me in this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go a little bit deeper. What's really at the heart of our lives? I'm asking you, what is at the heart of human life? I would say after faith in God and God's role in our life, I would suggest that it's the way in which we engage in relationships, especially with our families. Are you an honorable person? Are you able to say, I'm sorry? Are you in pursuit of a moral life? Do you put others first? Are you a servant leader with regards to your family? Are you able to forgive? I think it's this where most conservatives align. I think that if we look at the tenets of conservatism and the conservative thought, those are the things that come to my mind. And I think that in proper context, to frame all of this, most of us would agree with that. I think that family, pursuit of God, and pursuit of morality are tenets, and there's more, of conservative thought and conservative philosophies. Because I can tell you that on your deathbed, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to be worrying about whether or not Google controls information, or whether or not YouTube has censored you, or forbidden you to monetize a certain video. We're going to be thinking about our family legacy, our kids, our spouses, our friends, and the impacts all of those people had on us, and hopefully we had on them. Hopefully in the midst of our current life today, before we get to our deathbed, hopefully, we've contemplated God, His kingdom, the afterlife, heaven, and we know how to build relationships with God, with Jesus, in order to achieve all of those rewards. I mean, I hope we're thinking about that. That's conservative value. In my mind, those are conservative values. The left doesn't believe in any of that. They can't. I mean, evidence of the obvious is sufficient. How can someone who claims to be a Roman Catholic support legislation that would end the life of a baby in the womb or out of the womb? I'm Catholic, and I can tell you right now, there's no person on earth who can be in good standing in the Catholic faith if they support abortion, or if they support a woman's right to choose. Any legislation that enables an abortion is not acceptable in the Catholic Church, and you can't be a Catholic in good standing if you support that. That's just the truth. Now, some people are going to go, oh, you shouldn't be so harsh. Doug, you shouldn't be so harsh. Well, that's another problem in conservative circles and faith circles, is that our pastors, no matter what faith you are, Protestant, Catholic, Mormon, Jewish, whatever, pastors, bishops, deacons, leaders of the church are too afraid to tell you the truth from the pulpit anymore. They're too afraid to tell you that you can't believe in an abortion and still be a member in good standing here. Let's work our way through that. We can forgive. We can repent. We can atone for anything. God Himself has given us that promise. We have religious leaders and members of the GOP need to stop pussyfooting around these issues. These are the tenets of conservatism and of faith. We can't sugarcoat them. And I'm not saying we do it in harsh way. This might sound harsh, and I'm sure it does this. Well, we can't say that in the church, Doug. You know, you'll drive people away. Sometimes people will be driven away only to return stronger and more firm in their faith. And I'm not about driving people away. It's all about acceptance. But look, we can't. This is not a cafeteria plan. You can't choose that, choose this, choose that. I think I'll believe in that, but not this. On Thursdays, no. This, that on Sunday. No one's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes and falls. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the leadership from our churches, our faith-based organizations, and our government on the Republican side need to be firm and stronger in approaching these issues. This is how we will win. This is how we will win. This is what the people of the world want. And again, not just an American issue. People of the world want this kind of leadership. There is such a vacuum of leadership in the Republican Party in the United States. It's unbelievable. Hardly any backbone. Now, there's a few who are excellent conservative leaders and that stand up and proclaim the truth. But we need to do much better. And those of us that are in the audience of the world, so to speak, who are ruled by these politicians, we need to also do a better job in the things that I've mentioned to you almost in every show that I've done with you. Determined prayer and determined patriotism. Determined patriotism is the hard work of it all. Rooting out the rhinos, getting rid of them. No quarter, no mercy, no prisoners. We primary them. We vote them out of office. the hard work. There is no quick fix to all of the things that the conservatives want in the world. Donald Trump's not the president anymore. Now, we hope that he runs again. Donald Trump is not gone. He's still with us. But we have to come to terms with determined patriotism and fixing the ills in our society. And fixing the ills of our society means giving ourselves permission to do the hard work, to realize there's no quick fix, and permission to have patience with it all. But the conservative approach of development of the individual in all of these things is what leads to, and I think will provide for, lasting improvement of societies. Another one of my pleas, what I beg of the Republican Party to do, is that they stop being slaves to big corporations. I should just say not only corporations, but slaves to the deep state and slaves to globalism. Corporations, the deep state, and globalism, we can't, in our Republican Conservative Party, we can't put up with that anymore. We can't. That's not what the people want. It's not the best for our society. And we have to come to terms with that and grips with that. Now, there's no room, in America at least, for a viable third party. So I'm left with the Republican Party for my conservative values. To express my conservative values and my beliefs, I am left with the Republican Party. President Trump himself has said no third party. And you know what, guys? Trump is the Republican Party now. With almost 100 million votes, he's the guy. But I think that we would be better served, and this is where I want to make a plea to the GOP. You know, we have got to return to the values of the individual, return to local concerns, and stop the globalist approach. America first was a good idea. This could apply to conservative leadership not only in the United States, but for those of you watching this around the world. Republicans would be wise to stop the war against people and start focusing on how to reduce and stop the elimination of the individual in regards to politics and begin to enhance the individual, beginning at its core, life, returning to our tenets of conservative philosophies. You know, there is a war right now in America and the world, truly the world, with regards to gender roles in this life. There's also a war with life in general, abortion. These are two specific areas where Republicans and conservatives had better start to confront more now than ever than what they've been doing. There's an all-out attack for you ladies in the audience. There is an all-out attack on women's rights, women's sports specifically, but women's rights in general. Because the narrative of the left deems it acceptable for transgender men to compete against naturally born women. This is just one example that's in the news today. This does nothing to improve anybody's individuality. Yet the left, by the way, by far in the minority on this particular topic, the majority of the people of the world think that allowing transgender men to compete against naturally born women is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. But the left has done a great job of capturing the narrative. And we, the conservative voices in opposition to that, have got to stand up. And our leaders, our Republican leaders, need to. We can't afford to let that much be canceled and that much be drowned out. The same is true of abortion. The ending of a life is never more thoroughly demolished than when someone says, it's my body and therefore it's my choice. I can end this pregnancy whenever I want to. At 1 month, at 2 months, at 9 months, after the baby's partially born, whenever. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the only sin graver than that is disavowing God himself. Take a look at the my body, my choice argument and apply it to anyone who would force you to get a vaccine. You see the hypocrisy there? The recipe for A successful society, ladies and gentlemen, is not complicated. Number one, for a successful society, have a relationship with God. Number two, a true value of all human life, no matter how old that life may be. Whether it's just a few hours old inside of its mother, or whether it's in a nursing home, a hospital, or a prison. Number three, traditional family values. What you see in the world today on television and the news and last summer is a complete absence of traditional family values. And number five, service to others. Becoming servant leaders. That's the recipe for a healthy, thriving society, a moral society. It's that simple. So it's no surprise that the left and the big corporations out there fund organizations like Black Lives Matter. Now think about this. Black Lives Matter, now this is the truth. This is not opinion. They are an organization that actively calls for the elimination of the traditional family. That is not my conjecture. That is not my opinion. That is said in their charter. I think that because big tech, to the communist socialist, human relationships, the traditional family that relationships create, are an impediment to the agenda of the radical left. How is it an impediment, Doug? How are we an impediment to them? Because if we eliminate traditional family values, we are more controllable. I mean, think about it this way. Black Lives Matter. How does the elimination of traditional family values empower any black person? How does the elimination of traditional family values empower any person, no matter their color or race? Wherever you live, in whatever country around the world, how does the elimination and destruction of traditional family values help your society? It doesn't. It does the exact opposite. The elimination of traditional family values causes decline in civilizations. It's precisely because of that, the traditional family role that's been not only attacked but deconstructed, that we're in so much trouble. Our families are the remedy for the decline. We take time, we on the right side, we take time to bolster our families, to spend time to teach. We teach determined prayer. We teach determined patriotism. We teach the truth about our history. We teach our children and our families how to love unconditionally. We know, at least I know, when I look at my own life, I can talk about all of those values. And I can talk about giving you advice on improvements and journaling and so forth and so on, and all of the changes and the improvements that we should make as individuals. But I can also tell you this, honestly. Ladies and gentlemen, if God were to come down here today and say, let's form a line according to how many people amongst us have made mistakes in this life. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be first in that line. Me. So you see, we can talk about how to improve, about what we should do, because we as humans want to do that. But there's no person on earth that's perfect. Every one of us that speaks about these things is flawed himself. The wounded healer, the wounded servant model, right? One of the things that many people do wrong today in society is they look at it and is they assume that the mistakes of people somehow prevent them from ever making a positive contribution again. Well, he's a convicted criminal. He can't possibly make a contribution to society. That person has lied. They can't possibly be trusted anymore. You know, that person really did hurt the feelings of his family. And so therefore, we're going to become estranged from them and not forgive and not invite them back. No one is perfect. The messages that we try to deliver from the right side, the conservative side, really circle around those tenets of conservatism. conservative thought, conservative principle, the conservative approach to life. People don't forgive as much as they should, really, ladies and gentlemen. You know, in all of humanity, there are many virtues, but the two most important virtues are love and forgiveness. Now, love is easy, especially when we're loved in return. No big deal there. It's easy to love when we're loved in return. And by and large, everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be important in someone else's life. Everybody wants to feel loved. But forgiveness? No. Forgiveness, not so much. Forgiveness isn't easy. Very rarely is forgiveness easy. But I'll tell you this truth, ladies and gentlemen. Love, the greatest of all the virtues, is love. No doubt about it. It says so in the good book, in Scripture. But love cannot survive without forgiveness. It simply cannot. And if you can't forgive anyone in your life, anyone, if you can't forgive anyone in your life, you'll never be able to truly love anyone else. And that's what conservatives, that's what our message needs to be with regards to our family, traditional values, forgiveness. Nobody is perfect. President Trump is not perfect. But you know what? I happen to believe that he was called by God to be president at this time and for these issues. And he was called forth, and he was our president. Lord knows I'm not perfect. But I look at the United States and the world and where it's heading, and I cannot be silent about it. I can't remain in corporate America. In fact, I left corporate America to do this because I feel so strongly about the course of the world. So here I am speaking to you good people from around the world who are all who know that I think conservative values makes the world a better place. This is my opinion about how we should fix it. I make appeals to you, to our society, to the leaders in the party. In all of this, I think that we as conservatives are facing really a war on what is called the natural order or natural law, the way God intended things to be. The natural rules of things on this planet Earth existed a long time before we showed up. You know, we interact with natural law. The natural law of our founding fathers was a very real concept for them, one in which they thought about all the time, natural law. Sometimes they called it divine providence, really the hand of God interacting in the world, the word of God moving through it. A power greater and more wonderful than ourselves, and something more wonderful than we could even imagine. And some on the left, on the radical left, just can't handle that because there can be nothing more important than the state, than our politics. And so they realize that when we see the natural order of things and a power greater than ourselves, that we are not so easily controlled then by the false narrative that they feed us. That's why they attack women's rights by allowing transgender men to participate in women's sports. They believe that by surgery and hormones, someone who was born a man can be transformed into a woman. And ladies and gentlemen, not to be harsh, but that's just not true. No amount of surgery, no amount of hormones can change the gender of someone's soul. The only way the left gets to the point of all of that is to deny the very existence of a soul, and thereby deny natural law. The left wants to control gender identity, and they think they can control and change your God-given identity, but they cannot. And we have to just simply speak that truth. Look, we're not saying go out and hurt people because of it. I'm certainly not. We just need to be able to speak the truth to those people. In the end, we can't beat natural law. There's no way to get around it. Ponder why, since the dawn of time, that the traditional family emerged from the evolution of human beings all over the planet, not just in one spot. Every culture has the traditional family unit, almost all of them. It evolved out of nothing all around the planet. Why do men have a certain set of attributes and weaknesses that are counterbalanced by women's strengths and weaknesses. It's the nature of things. It's the way it's supposed to be. It's natural law. We'd be better off contemplating natural law and giving ourselves permission to seek to understand that and embrace it rather than to trying to surgically change not only our physical being, but our mental and spiritual being. Don't try to resist who you are. We should resist and we should not resist traditional family values. That's exactly why we got in trouble in America last summer. It was on display. Maybe before we destroy or cancel cultures, we should consider the consequences. The consequences of canceling culture, canceling gender. And you don't have to look long or hard to see all of the consequences that we've experienced in America and around the world. They were all around us. Those who participated in the riots last summer, the looting, the arson, the anarchy, they were all products, all of those people, products of a destruction of traditional family values. Those who would assault and demand defunding of the police, a result of the abandonment of traditions of order, family values. And the consequences are available for you to see right in the pages of the paper and the media today. A spike in suicides among young people, among people of all ages, drug addiction, suicide, loneliness, divorce, depression, all on the rise because we've abandoned conservative tenets of life. You see, when you have traditional family values, your loyalty is to your family. And it becomes very difficult, ladies and gentlemen, for the radical left to control that. You want what's best for yourself. You want what's best for your family. And when you're properly aligned in that way, traditional family values become part of your life, and you're not as easily controllable in a negative sense. And that's good because we are awake to the truth. We are awake to natural law, the way God intended things to be. And in America, at least, the Republican Party had better get itself together and aligned with traditional conservatism. I mean, the belief in God, the pulpit, and all of that. Belief in God, duty to family, loyalty to country, all three of those things, the Republican Party had better wake up because we can't give quarter and room anymore, nor patience for the Republican in name only group or the deep state or the globalists. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, when I was in corporate America, I want to tell you a story. This is a story of corporate America. I used to be a human resource executive. I spent a lot of my time trying to convince the leaders of the companies to stop prioritizing the goals of the company with a pursuit of numbers. Let me explain. They wanted to chase these things called metrics and key performance indicators, KPIs. And earnings before taxes and income, EBITDA, and all of that business talk, blah, blah, blah. Numbers, numbers, numbers. The Holy Grail, making our numbers better. We've got to improve our numbers. And my message was always, stop it. Stop. Stop talking about the numbers. Because in the final analysis, those numbers are not related at all to the success of your company with regards to what is most important. What business leaders and what we really all should be pursuing, and I think on the conservative side we have a better grasp on this than the left, is relationships. Relationships with other human beings. And in the corporate world, relationships with your employees. I would tell leaders that unless you begin to develop meaningful relationships with your employees, these sacred numbers that you pursue, metrics and KPIs, you're never going to be able to find them. You're never going to be able to get quite there. They will always elude you. You're never going to become a world-class organization unless you focus first on relationships with your employees. And I would tell them, when you park your car in the morning, don't go right to your office. Pick a portion of the building each day and walk the floors of that building. Whether it's a manufacturing facility, a corporate office, whatever. Walk the floor, shake hands, talk about anything other than work. The same is true in our private lives, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the conservatives do. That's what I meant in the beginning when we talk about individuality. We improve ourselves first. We improve our families next. And then society as a whole begins to improve. And I would just ask that you think about that and try to believe in that. That's our advantage over the radical left, where they think they can control the narrative and the truth of history, current life, society. We can control the individual, develop the individual to be a better person, the best version of ourselves. That then spreads to our families, the families to the world, so forth and so on, and society is improved that way. Society isn't improved by the left's opinion that politics should be thrust upon us. And if we don't believe in their politics, then we're excommunicated from the human race or from the public square or whatever. So let's think about those things, because in the mix of it all, you also continue to have that pack of blessings that I talk about with you almost every day, every show. And take inventory of that pack of blessings, beginning with yourself and your family. You are a blessing, and so are the people whom you hold most dear in this life. And one other thought before I leave you today. We all pray for each other. We all pray for the people that we love, as we should. We pray for our world, for our country in which we live, whatever country that may be. Do this for me, ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed forward with conservative values and a conservative approach to life. Clearly, pray for each other. I will pray for you. I hope you pray for me. Pray for your families, obviously. One way that I think we become a better society and a better people, and we become better versions of ourselves, is that if we think about for a moment the people in our lives for whom we find it most difficult to love, whoever that may be, take a moment and think about that person or those persons, whoever it is you find most difficult to love, and pray for them. Pray for them sincerely. That's how you become a better individual, and that's how our society improves, by things like that. The stuff that's not easy. Forgiving is not easy, right? Think about all that and believe in it, because I think it's the road to a better society. And the Republican Party, the conservative movement, wherever you are, needs to begin to refocus on that. The vacuum of leadership, at least in the United States, with regards to conservative values, is a big vacuum. And people need to begin again to be bold enough, whether you're a preacher, minister, deacon, or a politician, or somebody like us. We've got to be able to be bold enough and brave enough to speak the truth. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless the world. God bless all who are in it. And we will meet again, God willing, right here on the right side with Doug Billings. Cheers.